Hello everyone, I'm Chris. I'd like to see you again. In this video, I'll show you how to use SPT Framework and give a very rough introduction about this. So, what is the SPT Framework? SPT Framework is a library that is supported by Beckhoff USA that it can help to realize the PackML library in order for just to let your code to more easy to organize, to control, or to make your own program. And this library is based on the TC3_PackML_v2. And there's a very important point I would like to tell you that you need to have a basic OOP concept. If you don't know what is OOP, then you can go to Google to search it. You have so many information or some material or YouTube channel to show you what is OOP and how TwinCAT run with OOP, because it is a very, very important concept. Even now, in this tutorial, I just told you that I'm using SPT Framework, but if you use, for example, Explainer, the library, and if you want to use TC Open, if you want to use TC Unit, there's some very fantastic open source library in the internet. Then you need to know the OOP basic concept. What is properties, what is method, what is extend, implements, and how data or how the interface is implemented with the function block. So here is the basic instruction of that, and just a second. Okay, I would like to go to the next slide. Okay, so as I told you before, SPT Framework is based on the TC3_PackML_v2 library. So as you can see, the flowchart in here is based on then under the TC3_PackML_v2 library, we have the SPT Framework. And for the SPT Framework, there are four components very important. The first one is SPT basic type, and then we have SPT components, but also SPT event locker and SPT utilities. For the SPT data types, then SPT Framework will give some function blocks to let you to control it to handle this state machine. It is all. For example, in this video, later I'll show you to use some function block, and all these function blocks is based on this SPT base type. So I think it's better that you go to the documentation to check a little bit more about what is SPT type. But don't worry, I'll give you some basic concept in this video. The next one is SPT components. So what is SPT components? SPT components is that the SPT Framework will provide some function block to let you to easily control the for example, like sensor, servo motor, actuator, or explainer, something like this. And I think they will also update in the future that with this data machine handle. So if you want to use a digital sensor, you have so many digital sensors, you can just use the function block inside STP components. Then if you have servo motor, you can also use the same library. Then we have a SPT event locker. So SPT event locker actually is wrapped from the TC3 event locker. It's a very base TwinCAT3 library, TC3 library. It is used to log a message, to trade the data. It's very useful for you. For example, you can log some message like my servo motor is run more than 2000 RPM in 5 minutes, something. You can just log any message that you like. And after that, we will have the SPT utilities. So SPT utilities SPT Framework will also provide so many basic function block to save your life, no need to duplicate, to do some basic programming. For example, the analog scaling, data buffer, compilers. So function blocks. SPT Framework will provide so many types of function blocks to let you to implement your code. And actually, I will tell you a concept that is SPT Framework. Actually, they will not directly call the function block. They will use methods and properties. So that's why the reason that I need to tell you that you need to have a very good concept for OOP programming, because you need to know the function blocks that you are using, that we have which type of method or properties, and which meaning, what's the meaning of each method and properties. By the way, by the far way, you can extend your own function blocks based on the function block they provide from SPT Framework. And then you might need to override your own method, and you may to extend something. So the reason that why OOP concept is very important in not just SPT Framework, but in the TwinCAT work. So let's back to topic. So for the methods that we have, there are two types of method. There is one type is called single method call, and other type is called cyclic logic. So single method calls is just like the English that you see here. You can it's just called one time when you just call one time when you execute one time. So what can you use? How can you use with this type of method? You can use it with, for example, reset your access to extend the cylinder, or to log some message, something. That at that time, what the method that you're using is single method calls. And by the other hand, they also have cyclic logic. Cyclic logic, if you call this method, then the function block will run the logic that is inside itself. So after you, for example, you set all your properties or the basic initialization is finished, you need to call this cyclic logic method to run your own logic. Okay, so not just method, they also have properties. For the properties, they have so many types. They have some properties to let you know what is the status of your machine or object, or you can set some properties to your object. For example, you can set your object to simulation mode or not. You can get your for example sensor. You can get the sensor now is activated or not activated, and how long that it activated and how long is it activated. So here is a screenshot that I took from the SPT Framework documentations. I hope you will go to the SPT Framework website to have a very clear look. May spend over 50 minutes to take a look of their whole documentations, because they have very good documentations to tell you all the interface and also the each function, what is the meaning of the property, what is the inside. It's just a very rough for you. Okay, so for the SPT Framework, all the component is based on this FB cyclic FB. But this FB cyclic FB is extend from FB basic FB. Inside, they have some free methods to help you to trade your trade log, and then maybe or trade log not just a text format but in JSON format. And this FB underscore base FB is also implemented by the interface of I underscore base FB. By using this, by implementing this FB, you can get some basic status of your object. For example, your object is executing something or not, your object have error or not, and also what kind of the information, for example, error ID, what kind of error ID that you get. All this information is from this I base and FB. And then finally, FB cyclic FB is also have an implement of the I cyclic FB. By this interface, you get the properties of initialize complete to get your object is initialization is finished or not. And as I told you before, the SPT Framework provide a single method call and a cyclic logic. So by implementing the I cyclic FB, you have a method called singular logic to let you to run the logic cyclic. I think the introduction here is enough. Now I open the TwinCAT to show you how to install the SPT libraries and I will show you a very simple example to how to use a function block that inside SPT framework called FB digital sensor. Okay, I hope you're ready. Then we can start to use our TwinCAT. Before I start to use TwinCAT, I should introduce a little bit more about the Github of SPT Framework and also the documentations. Documentation is always help your life, and before you use any library, you should read the documentations. So here is the Github of SPT libraries. You can go to Coke and download zip to download the whole library. But this is very important that I told before, there's the documentation. Don't worry, I will also leave the link in the video descriptions. So in this part, I will not just to show you how to use the function, but I'll give you a very very basic briefing to show you how to start to use any open library. A good library, they should have a very great documentations and should have sample code and everything to provide the user to use their framework. SPT application, not just SPT applications, for example, TC Open and TC Unit, they also provide very good documentation and full example to show you how to let you to integrate their framework into your code. So every framework, so in this case is SPT application, they have a home, then a get start, and go to Github. Github is the page that I showed you before. Then go to get start, then you get the briefing and the whole structure of what is the SPT framework is, and how to set up it, and what is the design pattern, what is the structure of the whole framework, and also they will introduce the main core, what is the library inside, what is the cyclic logic and single method code that I presented before, and show you some basic function or basic components that's used in their libraries. As I showed before, they use SPT basic types to provide, to let you to control your code in any status. So here is the SPT basic type, and both they provide a class diagram in here for you to let you to exactly know what the structure of their function block. As I showed you before, their basic function block is FB cyclic FB, but this FB cyclic FB is come from FB basic FB. So that's then this FB basic FB is implemented from iBasic FB, the interface. So I will try to explain it a little bit more detailedly. For the iBasic FB interface, you have BC, error, and error ID to let you to know what is the status of your component now. And for the FB basic FB, you have tray with JSON or marker to log your components. And then you have an iCyclic FB that is come from iBasic FB. So means that iCyclic FB will not just have the component of iBasic FB, but also its own properties and method. In this case, we have cyclic logic. That's a method that I called before, that you need to call this method to execute your function block code cyclically. And finally, this FB cyclic FB is the basic level of all your components inside the SPT framework. For example, cylinder, motor, sensor, some servo motor, something. And this FB cyclic FB is come from FB basic FB and iCyclic FB interface. It's very clear. You know the whole structure, and actually you need to know the whole structure of a framework too. Then you know what actually this variable is, what is method, what is these properties, what can you get from here, what can you execute, what kind of result that you get after you execute this method. It's very important because maybe in the future you need to extend your own or extend the function block. It's based on FB servo or FB digital sensor. So you should know the basic, what is they come from and what is their functions. And this time I will use the SP components. The inside SP components, that is a function block called FB function block sensor is FB digital sensors. Then go to the overview. Then you know that the collections of function blocks implementing I component base is so this. That means the SP component, all the function block inside the SPT components is come from this interface. But also you say the function block is include the FB component base. So by summary, the function block that inside SPT components will have the interface of I component base, but also the FB component base. I think it will make you clear. Then you go to the sensors, then you know that sensor is have their own interface, it extend from the I component base. Here is a very clear example, the function block FB digital sensor. So it means this function block using for sensors is extend from FB component base and implement from I digital sensor base. I digital sensor base is this interface. But this interface, where it's come from? It's come from I component base. I hope you will not so confused, but you should know and you should read the document very cleverly, very clearly to know what the components, what kind of method they have, and what is the level of your function block that now you are. So go to Github, I'll show you that. Go to code and download zip down the library, and after that, then you will never create it here. Did not use. Okay, this is my wrong. And you get this zip file, and then when you unzip it, you will find the SP library main, and inside the library responsive. This is the folder that you need to use to install the library in your TwinCAT development environment. So now open the TwinCAT ID. In my case, it's Research Year 2019, and I create a project before. Then I go to PLC, add new items, and I add a PLC inside here. Okay, so I need to set something to set new project, and I'm using a VM here, so I need to set my core to here, and then now I can import my library. So how to import it? Then go to reference, then right click here to library repository, and go to edit locations to add a library inside your TwinCAT elements. Although in my case I already installed it. But what you do is go to add and go to choose the direction and the location that of the library repository of the SPT framework, and then enter your name. Then you will get the library in here. So, and after that, for the company, then you will find a Beckhoff automation LLC. So this means they install the library in your system. So after that, we can actually add the library that we need. Go to reference, right click, add library. This time I showed you before, I use FB digital sensor. So I did a search SPT. So FB digital sensor is come from SPT component. So what I need to do is just import the SPT components. It's wait time. The SPT components will just maybe wait a second. Okay, so the library is import in your system. So I go to main to start the programming. What I need to do here, I will define instance for FB digital sensor, FB digital sensor. So if because they allow only have one sensor, if in your real project you can define as an array of FB digital sensors, then you can just accept all your instance by index. Then I have a bit called simulate, SIMULATE. It's a bool type. I'll use this bit to trigger the simulation mode because I didn't connect any field bus and sensor in this case. And I have a variable called activate is to get the sensor is on or off now. So, and I have 2 times. So it is a variable to get the current time, how long that my sensor is on or off. Finally, I have a data in. Data in is a variable to trigger my simulate input. And I also have a trait. Trait is a variable to make sure you just call the one cycle method called one time. Okay, so all these variables are defined. The next step, you need to make some program. So first one is sensor doc simulation mode. That make just just to configure my simulation mode. ULAT simulation mode is equal to sensor simulation mode dot input driver. That's okay. Then we need to configure our sensor name. Sensor dot name is equal to my testing sensor. SENSOR. Great. Then we can I need to trigger my instance to simulation mode. So sensor dot in simulation is equal to simulate. Okay, then I can get the sensor status now. Activate is equal to sensors dot activate ACTIV. Then I get the sensors on, the status is on or not. Then I'll get the on time. The T1 is equal to sensor dot activate TIV time IC time it activate. Then I want to get the off time also. Sensor dot time inactivate. Okay, great. Finally, I need to call the sensor cyclic logic. As I told you before, this is a very important method to let the function block to execute their code cyclic. Okay, that's enough. But I will also show you how to use the tray method to log a message. How to do this? I just create a very simple. If F1 T1 is more than T sharp 5 seconds, it means while the sensor is turned on more than 5 seconds, what will I do? Then if it is not trade, so that means the message is logged before, then I will log this message. Okay, I change the trade variable to true, and then call the sensor.tray, and then inside pass a message is called my sensor is on more than 5 seconds. Finally, what we need to do is else. If the sensor is not turning on more than 5 seconds, what we need to do is just turn off the tray variables. Okay, program is finished. Now I can save it. I can activate the configuration to download my program. Okay, it should be sorry, I would like to download the project. Okay, there's something wrong here. Oh, I missed something. Okay, and if I think I didn't write anything wrong, so okay, now it should be correct. Let's activate download my configuration again, turn my TwinCAT to run mode. Okay, and then key in all the message and log in, then turn my TwinCAT element to run. Okay, so great. What you see now, then you see activate false, MT2 is turning on. Then it's counting because now the sensor don't have any signal, so that's the reason that my T2 is continuously counting. So in here, open here, you see the underscore element complete is true, so mean the function block is completely initialized, and the sensor name is called my testing sensor. Then now I will turn the simulation mode by just turn on the simulate variables. Then you see the simulate flag will be turned to true, but now because we didn't give the sensor a signal that is turned on in simulation, so I didn't write it. I need to sensor dot simulation input is equal to data in. Great. Download again. Okay, so what you need to do is we can try to turn on the data in flag. Then you will see the activate will be true, and this time T1 will start to count because now our FB sensor my sensor is in simulation mode, and the simulation signal is passing inside a function block. And then more than 5 seconds, you see the my sensor is on more than 5 seconds. There's a locking message in here. So I'll clear all this message, and I'll turn off the simulate input and turn it on again. Okay, I start to count more 5 seconds. Then you see a log message in here. Say so. I know this is a very simple example, but I hope this is a very good step for you to start to use any Beckhoff open library. In this case, it's SPT Framework. It's a very good framework today to start to use any open library, for example, like this open or this unit, anything. And you need to know more about OOP concept, and you need to read the documentation clearly, and so many stuff. I hope this video will help you. Maybe I hope I also make the new video in the future, for example, for other component of SPT Framework, like servo motor and cylinder, and also expander something. Okay, I hope you like my video. I hope to see you again, and please have a good day. Bye bye.